Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual fall preview event. I'm Jennifer Johnson, Director of Strategic Fundraising for Idaho Public Television. And like everything else this year, today's virtual event is a new spin on our annual preview luncheon. However, some things never change. We are grateful for your support. We are so glad for your partnerships and excited to share with you the many programs and projects coming to Idaho Public Television and PBS this year. Before we start, we have set this up as a Zoom webinar with taped segments and clips, followed by a live panel discussion and conversation with some very, very special guests today. Please use the Q&A section that you see at the bottom of your screen, and you can send us questions and comments today. And we welcome questions for our guests this afternoon or after the presentation. So let's get going. From our studio here in Boise, here are, one at a time, of course, Ron Pisaneski, Jeff Tucker, Bruce Reichert, and Terry Tate McCauley, each sharing how this year's challenges have also created opportunities and sneak peeks into what's coming in 2021.
This year, PBS celebrates 50 years of service to the American people. We in Idaho are a little older, having started at KUID in Moscow more than 55 years ago. Over those years, we provided content and services that have made a real impact in the lives of Idahoans. It's been a great public-private partnership, with the state covering the cost of the infrastructure and our donors and supporters covering the cost of programming and services. Since that first station in Moscow, Idaho Public Television has grown to reach nearly 100% of the households of the state through a network of 5 full-power transmitters and 46 repeaters. As Idaho's only statewide broadcaster, we were ideally suited when the coronavirus pandemic hit to reach all Idahoans with critical information they needed to understand the crisis and what to do to stay safe. We've partnered with the governor to broadcast live Q&A programs on the state's response to the pandemic. Idaho Reports has extended its season beyond the legislature's end to provide information Idahoans need to understand and cope with the pandemic no matter where they lived. And we've been providing daily coronavirus updates so Idahoans know the extent of the virus spread and where the hotspots are. We've also covered the governor's regular news conferences and the legislature's special session live through our Idaho in Session streaming service. We're committed to helping meet the challenge of this pandemic by providing critical, accurate, even life-saving information Idahoans can trust. And we connect Idahoans with our content. Back in September, Michael Kirk, a founding producer at Frontline and also a U of I grad and former Idaho PTV staffer, gave our donors and sponsors an exclusive look at the Choice 2020 Biden versus Trump. Insightful as always, Frontline and PBS dig in to tell the whole story. And that's what your sponsorship aligns with, journalism that provides insight and credibility. When the novel coronavirus pandemic changed our lives, tens of thousands of Idaho parents and students were caught without devices or internet at home. We jumped in to meet the need and created Classroom Idaho Learn at Home, bringing teachers across the state together with their students via broadcast. We repurposed our Learn Create channel into a virtual classroom, providing direct instruction and resource programming to students at home in grades K through 12. From the start of PBS and Idaho PTV, education has been in our DNA. Now more than ever, we're making a difference in the lives of teachers, students, and parents. Now here's Debbie Critchfield, President of the State Board of Education.
The academic needs of our students are consistently at the forefront of our board's work. Now more than ever, we must utilize every tool available to support what was lost and minimize the impacts for our students. Classroom Idaho is one of those tools available to all Idaho students. Idaho Public TV has been an important partner, quickly finding smart solutions, providing educational support, and dedicating staff resources to the effort. Leveraging the power of Idaho Public Television, we are delivering the needed supports and curriculum directly into homes and to students.
As civil unrest captured all the news feeds, PBS Kids thought about what children must be thinking. On October 9th, we aired a news special, PBS Kids Talk About Race and Racism. The half-hour program featured authentic conversations between real children and their parents and included content from PBS Kids series Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Arthur, and Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum. And we also examined the issue here in Idaho. I'd like to thank Senator Cherie Buckner Webb, BSU Professor Michael Strickland, Boise City Council member Lisa Sanchez, and Idaho Black History Museum Director Philip Thompson for their help on racism and the Gem State. Idaho PTV is making sure you have the important information on current events. We work hard to be a source you can trust and believe in.
Hi, I'm Jeff Tucker, Director of Content here at Idaho Public Television. Well, it turns out that you can teach old dogs new tricks. The events of the last 8 months have taught us something new that we call pandemic production. Much of what we're working on now won't be seen for 6 to 12 months, which means 8 months ago, when the nation stopped, we were in the bit of a pickle. So as the group started discussing what to do next, as per usual, the team, and I mean everyone at Idaho PTV, jumped right in. But I'll talk specifically about production. First, it was safety. We established COVID protocols both for the people we were interviewing in the field and for staff. First rule, don't do anything that makes you or people around you feel unsafe. Second, we discussed how to continue our long-form content field production. That included masks, alcohol, and hand sanitizer, and all the other rules for safety. The other change was how to do ongoing studio productions like Idaho Reports and the 180. You'll hear more about Marcia's newest project, which started because of the pandemic restrictions. And just like billions of other people on the planet, we learned how to incorporate Zoom into our daily lives. It's now how we do much of our timely work. Even Eli, the newest member of the Davlin family, caught the Zoom bug. He's been heard in the background of Idaho Report's Friday programs, no doubt practicing for his cameo as a future host down the road. Science Trek starts its 22nd season this year with a look at what else but viruses. Not surprisingly, viewership was way up because we were already serving parents, educators, and kids in the digital world. On the PBS streaming service, views of Science Trek are up almost 200% year to year. And use of the Science Trek website is at about 4 million views. Here's one of the virus shorts from this season entitled Herd Immunity, and I don't mean cows.
A herd is a group of animals, like a herd of cows. But herd immunity is how we all work together to limit the spread of a virus. Say you have a group of people. A virus can spread quickly, making them sick. When someone recovers from an infectious illness, they develop antibodies in their blood that helps them fight off that virus. They can also be protected from a disease by getting a vaccination. They have what's called immunity. If there are enough people in the group that have immunity, then it's difficult for the virus to spread at all, and that's called herd immunity. We need more than 70% of the group to be protected for herd immunity to work. But if there are fewer than that, then the virus can spread disease more easily. Having herd immunity is important because it protects people who can't get vaccinated, people who are too young or too old, or whose immune systems aren't strong enough. Herd immunity is one way to stop the spread of a virus. For more information about viruses, check out the Science Trek website. You'll find it at sciencetrek.org.
Now, Marcia Franklin has started a new digital series called The 180. Since April, she's been talking with people who have had to make great changes in their lives. In other words, do a 180. They've included a refugee who started up a medical transport company just as the pandemic began, and a mother of 2 children who decided to become a nun. What has sustained them along the way? Their resilience can help provide us all a roadmap. Marcia has been posting the conversations to the Dialogue Facebook page and to the Idaho Public Television YouTube channel. Here's a short clip.
Hi, I'm Marcia Franklin. You know, sometimes the most nondescript places like this one hide the most amazing stories. For instance, the vans behind me are fueled in part by the determination of a young man who's already faced more challenges in his life than many of us will face in a lifetime. This week on the 180, meet Jonathan Amissa. In just 15 years, Amissa has gone from being an orphan on the streets of Cameroon to starting this successful medical transport company in Boise. Jonathan talks with me about what drives him to succeed and what has grounded him through the massive 180s he's had to make. Any one of them might have brought someone to their knees, but Amissa not only got up, he sprinted. And what you will hear is proof positive that just one person, one of us, can make a huge difference in a person's life and help them achieve their dreams. Be prepared to be inspired.
Idaho Experience is now in its 4th season, continuing to bring to life the stories of the extraordinary people and defining events that have shaped Idaho's past and present. In August, we told you about the story of how Idaho became the 4th state in the nation to honor women with the right to vote. Independent producer Jenny Sue Weltner and Idaho PTV's own Marcia Franklin brought us ahead of her time, women's suffrage in Idaho.
They marched in the streets, spent months in jail, and went to war with a president. Women in America finally won their right to vote in 1920. By that time, women in Idaho had been casting ballots and winning seats for nearly a quarter of a century. Ahead of her time.
Now, a reminder of news from previous preview events. Finally, April 5th, Ken Burns brings us Hemingway. He paints an intimate picture of Hemingway, the writer, who captured the complexities of the human condition while also penetrating the myth of Hemingway himself, the man's man.
The great thing is to last and get your work done and see and hear and learn and understand. And write when there is something that you know, and not before, and not too damned much after.
In March, Bill Manny will also explore Hemingway, but from an Idaho perspective. If you know anything about Ernest Hemingway's time in Idaho, you know that he dies by suicide at his home in Ketchum. And that's pretty much it. A celebrity that died in Idaho. But that narrative is not just incomplete, it's wrong. It ignores the affection he had for the landscape, the hunting, the lifelong friends he made here. It ignores the struggle against physical and mental decline. And it mostly ignores the work on books like For Whom the Bell Tolls and A Movable Feast. It misses the influence not just that Hemingway had on Idaho, but that Idaho had on Hemingway.
There about how terrifying, it was for him to sit down or stand up to write. That he would just tell himself, I just want to write one true sentence today, just one true sentence. And God, could I relate to that? And the terror of it. If Hemingway was scared, I could be scared too.
For December, our Idaho Experience team shares a collection of short stories, including how a publisher maintains hands-on printing traditions, steamboats that once thrived on Lake Pend Oreille, New Plymouth's beginning as an irrigated utopia, an infamous Idaho criminal from a pioneer family, and how drive-in theaters keep old-time movie-watching rights alive. That and a lot more for you coming this spring and summer. It really seems like we're busier now than before the pandemic locked us down. But we didn't put our heads in the sand. Ron has been steady at the helm, and we continue to look at what our viewers need and then proceed quickly but cautiously. Even Idaho's icon, Bruce Reichert, has not been motionless. He's still wandering in the wilderness and sending us emails at 4 in the morning. So I guess in some ways, things haven't changed all that much. And as we say, keep positive and test negative.
I have to hand it to Jeff, the station's Energizer bunny. Every time I decide to come to work early or leave late, Jeff is there, one of the constants for me in this chaotic, COVID-crazed world. Both he and Ron have helped shape Idaho Public Television in some impressive and profound ways. It wasn't that long ago that someone once wrote, there are really only 3 things on public TV: 2 insects making love, a lion walking around with a gazelle in its mouth, and an elegant British man in a mahogany-lined room. Oh, and someone saying, if you want those 3, send money now.
Well, we have certainly come a long way. And so is Outdoor Idaho. We tell Idaho stories. And last month, we started our 38th season. We also know that our shows play an important role during this pandemic. We've been told this in person and on our Outdoor Idaho social media page with its 108,000 Facebook friends and followers. They use words like lifesaver, comfort food for the soul. One wrote, "It brings peace to my heart, especially during these turbulent times." Someone else wrote, "It puts a different perspective on 2020. As Jeff commented, doing a statewide show during a pandemic is not easy, and it's caused us to get a bit creative in our approach. For example, my colleague Lauren Malink, the newest member of the crew, decided for her first project to tackle a program on urban wildlife. Pretty clever. It certainly kept the interviews to a minimum.
Oh, it's in our house. Oh, there's a duck in our house. Ah, there's a duck in our house. Reagan, there's a duck in our house. Get the duck out. Deacon, open the door. Ah, open the door. Deacon, open the door.
My colleague Forrest Berger, who last year won an Emmy with a show called Living with Wildfire, recently decided to explore barns. He knew the show would require traveling to all corners of the state for days at a time. And with COVID, he was prepared to produce and shoot and edit the show pretty much by himself. But hey, no need for masks around these structures, except when you interview the people who absolutely love these historic landmarks.
Don't you think a barn is kind of a throwback to another era?
Oh my goodness, a barn is iconic. It just draws stories out of people.
And when you sit down with somebody, you get what's in their heart.
The saying is, the barn builds the house.
That was very much the center of the farm.
It's almost like you're losing your family history when your barn goes.
To me, the valuable thing about these shows is they help us realize what we Idahoans have in common. And that's one thing that Outdoor Idaho, that Idaho Public Television has done pretty well over the years, to try to unite us as a state. And that's no easy task. But I'm not sure who or what else is really equipped to do that. But now, if you don't mind, let's get beyond the year 2020, please, and show you some things still in the conceptual stage. For next March, we're planning a show definitely created for the COVID era. Off the Beaten Path is about out-of-the-way places from all over the state, with not a lot of people, and a chance to provide some peace and comfort to a hurting world. It's taken 38 years, but we finally decided to devote time to a classic Idaho tradition. In late September, we traveled to eastern Idaho, to just outside of Sugar City, where we spent 2 days capturing the craziness of the potato harvest. I brought my little handheld camera along, and volunteer extraordinaire Peter Morrill edited this short clip just for this event. By the way, we're calling the show Spud Country.
We're right in the middle of potato harvest. It's about a 3-week potato harvest here in Newdale, Idaho. Just think it's fun to see if you can put in a 16-hour day. I think that's impressive. The dirtier they get and in there working, I think they love that. The more they can work, the harder they can work, the better they feel. They really do. I love everything. I love the smell of the dirt. I love driving the truck. I love being with the people. I just love everything about it. Wow, this is where it's at. This is where good people are. This is where life is.
I want to leave you with something no one has yet seen. You really are the first. Bill Manny and Jay Krajek are still working on it in the edit bay. I have a hunch you already know Idaho represents something most states can't claim, a wild, exuberant heart that can still kick your backside, as Lewis and Clark discovered more than 200 years ago. In fact, if you haven't used the word wild or wilderness or freedom in your analysis of this state, you've only scratched the surface of what Idaho is all about. And that's what I like about our December 6th show, Idaho's Twelvers. It reminds us all just how wild and free this state still is. Here's a short clip. Enjoy. 123. That's how many Idaho mountains reach 11,000 feet or higher. 9 of those peaks rise above 12,000 feet. These granddaddies are known as Idaho's Twelvers, and they exert a powerful pull on the imagination.
We thought, oh, we'll climb 1, maybe 2, but the boys kept wanting to go. So we were able to climb all of them.
That way. She made her mind up she was going to do it. And here we are, the 9th summit. Yes.
The Twelvers draw natives and newcomers, old and young, and the young at heart. Some find in these mountains the ultimate test of physical or mental endurance, and some must face their fears.
I just got pretty spooked at just the exposure and the wind and my fatigue level. And I just thought, you know, I'm not having fun anymore.
Perfect. So if they are refugee who has no experience with mountain stuff, they can go to other mountains, but not this one, man.
Others go up these mountains for the thrill of racing or skiing, or believe it or not, flying down.
A speedwing is basically your own personal roller coaster. You're high in the air and your adrenaline's going, and it just seems so unreal that you're flying your body through the air. It just doesn't seem like you should be able to do it.
Idaho's highest peaks also inspire artists with Twelver t-shirts and towels, patches and paintings, even mountain music.
Listening to the songs of the birds or the wind, or thinking of the shape of things and how that could be portrayed musically. It's always kind of going in the back of my mind.
211 people are known to have climbed the 9 Twelvers.
You know, that's a fairly short list of people who've accomplished that. And I decided I wanted to be one of those people.
Windy.
Expert or novice, each climber still has to put one foot in front of the other. Hour after hour, mile after mile, mountain after mountain.
I want to get up there. I want to see if I can do it. I want to test myself against the mountain. So I think that's probably the number one motivation is the challenge.
Being in the very highest places in Idaho gives climbers an unparalleled perspective on life in this wild, wondrous, elevated state we call home.
You feel like you're literally on top of the world, on top of a mountain.
Okay, here's the summit.
It's really spiritual and powerful. Yeah, I feel very alive when I do it. And I think that's probably the common thread with everybody that does this.
There's a great example of our value proposition. You can climb a 12,000-foot peak in your living room and be rested in time for Sunday night mystery and drama. Appointment TV. Masterpiece, after 50 years, is still the home of legendary productions. It's where we fell in love with British drama. And the upcoming winter season kicks off with Glenda Jackson. Here, take a quick look forward.
You've got a dream. You've got to chase it.
Give me one last chance to make a difference.
Let's not be too hasty. There may be more to this story than meets the eye.
Hi, I'm Terry Tate McCauley, Director of Business Development. Right now, I wish we were together sharing salad dressing at lunch. Thank you for all your support and encouragement this last year. It's kept us going. The 50th season of Masterpiece celebrates with a new adaptation of All Creatures Great and Small, one of our favorites. James Herriot's heartwarming adventures as a young country vet with a cast of farmers and animals and townsfolk who live in the Yorkshire Dales. And here's an early look at All Creatures Great and Small, coming in January.
I got an interview.
Yorkshire?
Excuse me, this is Derby, isn't it?
I'd almost given up on you. I'm Mrs. Hall. I keep house for Mr. Farnham.
I'm Farnham, Siegfried.
New assistant.
Oh, aye, another one. I'm Mr. Farnham's new assistant.
Another one.
Let's trot forward. I've got a gelding gone wrong in hoof. Oh, we certainly don't want that.
You dealt with many horses before.
This will be my first.
Pick my brother up from the station. He should be on the 4:30.
How'd you find him? My brother, I mean.
He's not without his inconsistencies.
Inconsistencies? The man's a lunatic.
Blimey.
Quite something, isn't it?
That's no way to greet Mr. Harriet. You are a handsome devil.
Can I see you sometime? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have.
It's not that, it's just...
This is where you're hiding. Who's this?
James Harriet.
Harriet!
Siegfried's bark really is worse than his bite. Underneath it all, he's a good man. Stand up to him. He'll love you for it.
Up in the dales, surrounded by those hills. There's no place on earth like it.
Careful. Once it gets in your bones, it's hard to get out.
I'm not sure I want it to.
Engaging characters. You know, drama viewers are engaged, over 50% more likely to serve in their community. These are some of the people who are watching PBS. Sponsors are talking to affluent viewers. #1 with postgraduate degrees, mutual funds, more domestic trips this year, especially this year. Curious people watch PBS. Community engagement and contributions, it makes a difference to customers. We're hearing more and more about corporate responsibility, giving back. Sponsoring Idaho Public Television is clearly an investment in education. And that's why we say take credit for your support. Reaching an engaged, smart audience. 66 would switch products. 78 of Americans think companies need to do more than make money, that they should be making a difference. Coming up, the 7th season of Finding Your Roots. It starts January 19th with war heroes, criminals, immigrants, families who made it through extraordinary situations and circumstances. We know this from cutting-edge DNA research to old-school genealogical sleuthing to reveal these long-buried secrets. Get ready. It's going to be another fun season. Take a look.
Let's roll.
How's my hair?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous now.
I hope you find something shocking.
No! Yes. How fantastic!
I'm rearranging all of the stories I've ever been told. Everything's sort of recalculating, recalibrating.
This is tripping me out. Oh my God, this is blackmail material.
It's getting very emotional.
You want to find them, and here they are listed as property. But then to see them scream out on the census, no, here's my name.
Those words, man. I felt those words when I read them.
I just kind of wish I could go back in time and fix things.
But imagine this, your grandfather lives under the radar for 16 years.
In America.
Illegally.
Wow.
To be an immigrant is to be as courageous as it comes. So I take great pride in the courage that they had to take a chance on America.
Who knew it was gonna be this heavy? Man.
It's weird that in some ways you're pining for something.
Yeah.
It's not just information, you know? You feel a reach. I feel a reach from this.
You are descended from a patriot.
That's the best news I've heard all day.
Makes me feel like a badass.
John S. Worrell is charged with fornication. I like him.
It's kind of dramatic, though. It sounds like a movie scene I'd write.
That is some twisted family history.
This is the point where you reveal I'm not even human. You're from another planet.
European?
You are 1/3 white.
I am not.
You are 1/3 white.
Take that back.
I know we've been a great big melting pot, and I don't mind being melted.
You want to meet your cousin?
Please tell me it's Oprah. I will be so excited.
You and my father are DNA cousins.
Oh, my brother!
There's something so empowering about knowing where you come from, where you descended, what your story is.
It fills in the blanks for me in terms of, you know, where I got the chutzpah to do what I do.
This is the American dream, right?
It is.
This is worth more than anything. This is priceless.
This is my new favorite book.
American Masters, an incredible program to support. December 29th, share the real life of Laura Ingalls Wilder. Homesteading, well, it wasn't easy, no kidding. But this is really the story of family and community and how we all look out for each other. The business development team has a couple of new members in our family. Joining us back in January, Kylene Buxman took the job of Business Development Associate. Kylene is managing all the contracts, insertions, invoicing, digital banners, database, spot production, placement, just a few of the things that she's jumped in and took on. Leslie Lamb joined us March 30th. I remember it vividly because it was one of the few times we've met in person. As our new business development rep, Leslie's bringing lots of new ideas and energy to our place with her many years of marketing, advertising, graphic design. She's having a good time getting to know you, and she's encouraged by the dedicated support of our sponsors. I know we'll get through this. So snuggle in for the long winter with great shows from Idaho Public Television. Thanks to our engineering staff across the state, they'll keep all 5 channels on the air. So we have front row seats to some of the best performances. Jennifer Johnson's coming back with an exclusive look at a genuinely inspirational Broadway musical, along with the folks who brought it to stage. First, though, let's take a look at what's coming.
PBS and Great Performances bring you 4 incredible nights of Broadway's best, with James Corden in One Man, Two Governors.
I don't get confused that easily. Yes, I do.
Fiddler, Miracle of Miracles.
Fiddler captures moments of tradition breaking, tradition renewing.
Irving Berlin's Holiday Inn. And Lea Salonga in concert. PBS and Great Performances present Broadway's best.
Good morning, sir. I'm a private detective working a case, and will pay you handsomely to look the other way.
You're a what?
Word will soon spread that my father has died. If I don't take this case, someone else will.
I'm surprised you haven't changed the name to your own.
Miss above the door. That would be a sure way never to have any clients.
The streets of London are not what they once were. The city has changed. The crime, the filth. Chasing criminals is no job for an AG. It should be left to the police.
You're a private detective.
I've had no choice but to take the law into my own hands. Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
As the campfire burns, every soldier.
I think it was excitement more than anything that made me join up. Because we all thought the war would be over by Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
During the winter of 1914, it was not unusual for little groups of men to gather in the front trench and there hold impromptu concerts, singing patriotic and sentimental songs.
It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
And in calm evenings, songs from one line floated to the trenches on the other side. In the middle of the war, we had ourselves a merry Christmas.
Well, thank you so much, Ron and Bruce, Jeff and Terry. As you can all see, this has been a really busy year, and Idaho Public Television has helped strengthen, enlighten, and inform Idahoans thanks to your partnerships and community support. As there is much more to come, as you can see, including the television debut of All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914. For those of you who attended our annual luncheon 2 years ago, you'll remember that our guest speaker was Patricia Harrison, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting President and CEO. That same year, Laura Little was the president of the board for the Friends of Idaho Public Television. And as happens when people talk about the programming they love, Laura mentioned her appreciation for the arts programs and invited, Pat to see a show she was co-producing in New York, the Tony Award-winning production Come From Away. Pat was also intrigued by another project that Laura mentioned, a new production, All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914. The outcome of that serendipitous conversation is, thanks in part to underwriting from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, All Is Calm is coming to PBS next month and audiences across America. I'm pleased to welcome our special guests who will share an inside look at the creation of All Is Calm, the musical docudrama. First, I'd like to introduce Laura Little. She lives in Coeur d'Alene and has an impressive list of accomplishments in talent management and live theater. Peter Rothstein is the award-winning creator of All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914. He has directed 78 main stage productions for Theater La Teda in Minneapolis, St. Paul, including 11 world premieres. Eric Light has been hailed by the Washington Post for the audacity of his musical programming and noted by the Chicago Tribune for the meticulous preparation of his choirs. As a reminder to our audience, if you have questions for our guests, please type them into the Q&A box. Laura, Peter, and Eric, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Laura, let's start with you. Can you give us the backstory on how you became involved in this production? Oh, your microphone's not. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, there was a couple of mic prompts on here. Yeah, it all started for me in Idaho. I attended a production of it in Coeur d'Alene about 2014 at Lake City Playhouse, and was completely mesmerized by not only the message around the story, but how the vocal arrangements were set up for these guys. There's 10 men singing a cappella, and there's really not much better than that, I gotta say. So I went to the production with my daughter, Jessie, who is a performer, and we don't often agree on what makes a great performance. But in this case, we both walked out completely in awe. And as we told the community about the story, we realized how many folks don't know this story. So I realized I needed to get this to the masses. So I called Peter and asked him if it had been to Broadway or off Broadway yet. And when he said no, I knew that was my green light to move forward with it. So we met in New York, and in 2018, we made that happen. So the film was, happened because of a relationship I developed in Idaho. The stage production in New York happened because of seeing the production in Idaho. So the show has deep Idaho roots. So I think it'll make everybody in Idaho proud that there was an origination of it of sorts from here.
Oh, it's just such a wonderful story, and it's really about the people and the working together, and such a unique production as well. Peter, tell us a little bit, if you would, about how this story developed, the research, and how this came to be told in the voices that you decided to present.
Absolutely. Thank you. You know, it's such a remarkable story. And I had wanted to tell this story of this first year of the war, first year of World War I, when both the Allied forces and the German forces stopped fighting. But I struggled because in the theater, conflict is the stuff that drama is made of. And the climax of this story is the lack of conflict when they chose not to fight. So I knew that it wanted a non-traditional form. And I knew that music was an essential part of the truce. It's what built trust from one side to the other. So I knew it wanted music to be at the heart of the storytelling. But that's really all I knew. And I had approached my colleague Eric about collaborating with a group of male singers. But then I just bought a ticket to Europe and began my research along the Western Front, and then into Germany and to England, and visited World War I archive centers and museums and cemeteries. And I came back thinking, if I could tell this story entirely in the words of the men who were there, it would have much more power than anything I could generate from my own pen. So that's what I set out to do, to tell the story in their words and in the songs they would have sung.
Wow, what a treasure trove of information. Was that an aha moment, or was it something that sort of came about as you were reading all of these different diaries? It doesn't sound like you went into it with that being your idea. You were trying to figure out and develop the story.
Absolutely. I really went looking for my hook. What was the one narrative? Who was going to be the hero of the story, right? Often in traditional theater, even more so in musical theater, you're looking for that hero. And what I realized is telling a story and making one of these men the hero would have done a disservice to the thousands of men whose names never ended up in history books, who don't have statues erected in their honor. But what they did was unbelievably heroic. And it took much more courage in that moment, I think, to exercise peace than to exercise war. And I thought, I need as many of these men's names to go down in history. I want their names said out loud. And so it was really digging into that work along the Western Front, where I thought, oh, I don't need to create a piece of fiction or follow one hero. I need to include as many of their voices as possible.
So we're going to show a clip that showcases the use of different voices. And one of the things that I found so interesting is that each character takes on a number of different characters, or each actor takes on a number of different characters throughout this performance. They also had to learn dialect and be able to handle that appropriately as well. And each one of these concludes with the name and the rank, in some cases, of the person who is that you've actually pulled this from. So this is in their own words. Anything else that you'd like to set up for this clip, Peter, before we roll tape?
No, you did a terrific job.
Okay, there you go. Let's go ahead and roll tape. We'll mute our microphones and turn off our cameras for a minute.
Dear son, cheer up and look after your mother for Dad. Say your prayers for me every night so Dad will come back to you. Bless you and good night, Dad.
This is a red letter day. My parcel came this morning with a tin of peaches, loaf and butter, fish paste, tobacco, sleeping helmet, chocolate, a pair of socks, and a towel. Had peaches for sweet at dinner and fish paste for tea. Grand. Private Frank Bass, 9th Battalion, Norfolk Regiment.
I wish the sea were not so wide that parts me from my love. I wish the things men do below were known to God above. I wish that I were back again in the glens of Donegal. They'll call me a coward if I return, but a hero if I fall. Patrick McGill, London Irish Regiment.
What would happen, I wonder,
if the armies suddenly and simultaneously went on strike and said some other method must be found of settling this dispute. Winston Churchill, First Lord of the Admiralty, November 1914. In the name of the divinity, I beseech thee to cease the clang of arms while Christendom celebrates the feast of the world's redemption. Pope Benedict XV, December 7th, 1914.
The German leaders accepted the Holy Father's appeal for a ceasefire at once, but the leaders of the Allied forces did not. The Pope's request for the signing of a Christmas truce was arrogantly rejected.
Friendly intercourse with the enemy, unofficial armistices, and the exchange of tobacco and other comforts, however tempting and occasionally amusing they may be, are absolutely prohibited. G.T. Forestier Walker, Brigadier General, December 1914.
Wow, that is an amazing clip. Peter, before we start, well, actually, Eric, I think this would be interesting too, because the music tells the story in such a unique way in this performance. There was something that you and Peter shared with me earlier when we were talking about watching the actors as they're moving across the stage and pitch and tone. This is a very complicated musical to put together, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about all that went on behind the scenes for this.
Yeah, when the decision, as the form of the piece was sort of coming into focus with the work that Peter was doing, and the decision was made to be an a cappella musical. Along with that comes so many other challenges and opportunities. But one of the challenges is, there is no orchestra, there is no instrument in this production with a fixed pitch. So a number of the cast members are in different pockets and different places that they have squirreled away. They have good old-fashioned tuning forks, which you may remember from your music classes, and they'll hit them, and Peter has then created blocking where they'll maybe be behind somebody for that moment, and they'll listen for A440, but then from that pitch that they hear there, they need to be able to, using good music theory, understand which pitch to begin the next piece in, etc. So there are just levels of dance within a dance going on here. I also think it's just so interesting. People, especially watching this production, they may think there's a conductor in the pit sort of leading these guys. There is not. I'm the music director, but my role is really only in the rehearsal and kind of the coaching aspect of all of this. So in many ways, form and the message of All Is Calm go together in the fact that these guys have to, as a cast, have to work together, truly work together, and put aside any of their own whatevers to be able to do this piece. But I also think there's a vulnerability that comes across in only being, I say only, but being a cappella music, that that vulnerability of what went on in Christmas 1914 is sort of mirrored, I think, in how the piece is designed.
Wow. It does not sound simple. I'm wondering about casting. How did the casting, Laura, was that your piece in this? And
No, not at all. That was all Peter and his team and Eric putting that beautiful cast together. Peter, do you want to speak on that? Because most of these guys were from Minneapolis before and brought them to New York.
Yeah, some of these gentlemen have done the show, I think, for 4 or 5 years now. So it's really become kind of a part of who they are. And it is so different than, I do a lot of musical theater and opera. But we very seldom are doing that without an orchestra to be the cohesion that lines up the event, so to speak. And so they build a real significant team. And part of the audition process is figuring that out. Traditionally, when I'm casting a musical or a play or an opera, I bring an actor in one at a time, and they read a scene. And this, we needed to bring them in groups and find out, because it's a completely different skill set, being able to navigate an a cappella musical. So we did a lot of auditions, really having them sing as a group. And so they have to have really extraordinary musicianship, but they also have to be nimble as an actor, because as you mentioned, one line they'll be playing a German soldier, and then the next minute they have to be in a Scottish brogue, and then they're singing in French. And so, so they really need to have a full toolkit.
And Peter and Eric, you were mentioning that this has been performed many times, first for radio and then for choral, where you have a musician and then maybe you have actors. To combine this for a theater production and then to combine it to make it for television audiences, were there certain challenges or complications or something unique that occurred behind the scenes to bring this to our PBS audiences?
No, it was really easy.
Oh.
I would go back to that a cappella piece of it again. So often when you're filming, we had a wonderful director of the television piece, W.J. Lazarus, and he came in thinking, well, we can cut here, we'll just do 30 seconds, then we'll do another take, and then we can do another take, and then, which is how you would normally be able to shoot something. You'd be able to stop. And because it is a cappella and through song, we couldn't stop. We had to film it in much larger pieces. And so I think that was a big adjustment for the television folks to kind of get their head around. And Eric, you can speak to how we kind of decided what points are feasible, but the piece, there's no applause. Once the train leaves the station, it goes.
That's right. And I mean, I think the whole of the show is, as I think of it, just musically, it's sort of in little suites. So maybe a pitch will be given here, and then you'll maybe go for 10 minutes and the pieces are constructed. You may hear six songs in that time, but the key relationships are all built into the score. So it's kind of like, you know, like, dare I say, medley, that in the way that they go, but you have to kind of get from point A to point B in one stroke, and that's really challenging. There are also in the show kind of different layers and levels of singing. Some of the stuff we want to really sound like soldiers singing. So of course we have all these beautifully trained actors and singers, and I'm like, no, it's got to sound worse, I tell you. And trying to get some of the dialogue to be, or the dialect to be not lining up, not sounding like a choir. But then there are moments where the arrangements sort of go well, a lot above what a regular soldier would be singing. And that's sort of what a musical theater piece or an opera does anyway. You have those moments where time stops a little bit and you sort of think about what you're inside of the drama. And so in those moments, then we need to become the best a choral ensemble. And just back to what you were saying as far as the casting, I think one of the challenges for us is these guys don't normally are singing on the street corners in pop cappella groups. Like this is not their daily jam. So like one of my jobs is you got to find people that are like opened and have the skills to do that, but also like in 2 weeks sort of train them to be a really tight vocal ensemble. And these guys have just embraced that so well. It's just been so lovely.
Well, and that is the perfect setup to our next clip that we wanted to show everyone, to give them a taste of the sound of the voices that you are going to be able to hear in All Is Calm, the Christmas Truce of 1914. Let's roll that clip.
Silent night, silent night.
Well, I hope the audio didn't go too quiet for folks. On my end, it did. So I'm hoping that we were all able to hear that beautiful music. And of course, when we're watching it on December 6th here on Idaho Public Television and PBS, the audio will be not trying to go through Zoom and Zoom webinar and all the machinations we've gone through today. Eric and Peter and Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for bringing this beautiful piece of art to Idaho Public Television and PBS audiences across America. So many people are so grateful for the opportunity to see theater right now. And to be able to see the debut of this for so many of us who would also maybe not be able to get to New York or Minneapolis or where this was touring. So this is such a wonderful opportunity and we're so grateful for it. It's a perfect example, in my opinion, of what PBS and public media are all about, community and uniting us in so many unique ways. And boy, what a story that is needed right now more than ever, right?
That's right. And I know it's our pleasure to bring it to the world right now. And timing is everything on this one. I think everybody's going to enjoy cuddling up to their loved ones on December 6th here in Idaho and sharing this message.
I believe so too. Well, thank you very much. And for the rest of you who are here today, that's a wrap. I want to say thank you to everyone for all of your support throughout the year. And we hope you enjoyed this virtual presentation. We will have a survey that's going to pop up right when this webinar ends, and we'd love to hear back from you. And we hope to see you all in person next year for our annual fall preview event as well. Until we meet again, stay safe and be well.